Hey everybody, Andy Jurik here at the Excellent Dream Guitars, playing a beautiful Simon Marty guitar here. And today in this video, I want to talk about the caged scale system. Of course, that term caged comes from the open position chords of the guitar: C, A, G, E, and D, as they say. When people talk about the cage system, they're often talking about those chords and taking those chords up and down the neck, usually with the aid of a capo, to play in practically any key, really. But we can also break that down into each chord's respective sort of scale position and use that to transverse up and down the fretboard. I know there's some guitarists who love the caged scale system, some guitarists who are kind of give or take about it. I personally think it's pretty useful. It's pretty useful for transversing up and down the fretboard and applying that to sight reading, applying that to improvisation. Today I'd like to talk about how that cage system works, or at least how I like to look at that cage system. Now, the normal thing to do would be to go in order, talk about the C form, the A form, the G form, so on and so on forth. But actually, I'm going to take a little different order with this. I'm going to explain the scales and walk through them in a slightly different order that I think does make sense to how we typically look at scales on the guitar. There is a related packet that you can find more information about that in the link in the description below. But to dive into it, I want to talk about the E form first, the fourth form of this cage system. And I want to start there because actually this is probably the most common scale fingering that I find guitarists are comfortable with. Most students who I work with have asked me to play a major scale for me. They'll play for me something that looks and sounds like this. A pretty straightforward major scale fingering, I should say. And I look at that as the E form of the cage system. And when I play through these scales, I like to think of them as their position and all the notes available there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play that again. I'm in the 7th position of the guitar, and I'm going to start on that 6th string, 8th fret, C right here. I'm going to play through all the notes of the C major scale as high as I can go, then going down as low as I can go, then back to this C. I like to call it the terminal note. So starting here, we have can go up as high as that D, that 10th fret first string D in this position. And if I go as low as I can play in this position, I can go as low as that B, that 7th fret B. Then I'm back at that target note, that terminal note. So those are all the notes available for me in this position of the guitar using this E form fingering. And of course I can play the major arpeggio. Right there in that position. So of course that is our E form. The next form I like to talk about is the A form, the 2nd form in the cage system. And again, it seems like I'm jumping around from one to another, but there is a logic. And that logic is, for that A form, I'm taking that fingering that I just played, that E form fingering, and I'm essentially transferring it over one string. So now, instead of playing the root of the scale, that terminal note of the scale, with my middle finger on the 6th string, I'm going to start with my middle finger on the 5th string there. So the scale looks something like this. Actually, I'm going to drop it down here so I'm in that same tonic key of C major. So this scale, it looks very similar to that first form, but just transferred over, and it looks and sounds like this. So again, starting with that terminal note, as high as I can go in that key of C major in this position, which will be the 5th string A up on the 5th fret A up on the 1st string, and the lowest I can play is that 3rd fret 6th string G down there. So that's going to give me everything in this particular range. And of course, again, I can play the major triad as an arpeggio. So that is the A form of the CAGED scale system. Next, I'm going to go for the D form, the last form in the series. I'm going to do that because, again, it looks very similar to the two scale fingerings that I just played, but now I'm going to transfer that root over to the fourth string. Keep this in C major. I'm going to play the tonic and that terminal note with my middle finger, fourth string, 10th fret on this C right here. And now I'm going to play the scale in this position, as high as I can go, as low as I can go, then back to this note, and it looks and sounds like this. And again, the major triad as an arpeggio. So those three forms, the E, the A, and the D, as you can see, they all start with your middle finger on the root, that terminal note, just on different strings. And so I find them to be pretty similar to one another. We're just transferring from the root on one string to the next. The next scale I want to talk about is the G form. And with this, we're going to start with our tonic, the terminal note, with a pinky on the 6th string, 8th fret. And this scale looks and sounds like this. And of course, the major triad. And now the final form, the C form. Similar to that G form that I played, where I'm starting with the root under my pinky finger, but now I'm just going to transfer it over. So now the root is going to be on the 5th string, and it's going to look and sound like this. So those are the 5 forms of the CAGED scale system. Now, to tie it all together, I'm going to play them in their name order: the C form, the A form, the G form, the E form, and the D form. And what you're going to see is that if I play them in that official order, I'll transverse up all my through the neck from one position to the next. So if I play, I'm going to keep this in C major just for context. So I'm going to play the C form of C major. Now going to the next form, the A form, I'm going to go from that open position up to the second position here, and note that I have this common tonic. I have this C that's shared between those two scales. Okay, so now after the A form, I'm going to that G form, which is going to be up in the 5th position. And you might see I also have this note, this 3rd string, 5th fret C that I played here, and now in that new form I'm going to play here. Next comes the E form. So I'm going to use this as sort of my pivot note that I share between those two different scale forms. So now after that E form comes that D form, and I'm going to use this as my pivot note. I'm going to use this to connect those two forms. And those are the 5 forms, the C, A, G, E, D forms of that CAGED scale system, working my way up the guitar neck. Let me put that all together one more time. So starting with the C, A, G, E, and finally D. And there we have it. Those are the CAGED scales, running through each of those 5 different scale fingerings in different positions, all in the key of C major. Of course, you can do this in literally any key that you want. And the interesting thing is that if you do that, you actually find yourself cycling through those positions, those CAGED scale positions, in the same order, just maybe starting on a different given scale. Like, for example, let's say I want to run through them all in the key of F major, because why not? The lowest position for F major down and the open position, hanging around the 1st fret, I'm starting with the E form here. Then continuing in order, I'm going to go to the D form here. So now I'll cycle through from the D to the C form. From the C form to the A form. And then finally to the so that's the A form, and now the G form, which is a bit of a stretch on the classical guitar, but so you can cycle through those CAGED scale fingerings throughout every position of the guitar in literally any key that you want. Again, it's a great system for transversing up and down the fretboard in any given key. You can use it to read music in any position. You can now go up and down the fretboard, improvising in any given key. It's a really fantastic system. Of course, it's not the only system for scales out there for the guitar, but I think it's a rather excellent one. So hopefully you found this informative and interesting. Again, there's a PDF related to all this material down in the description below. You can check that out there. And I hope you found this enjoyable. Have an excellent day, everybody. And thank you to Dream Guitars for letting me ramble about scales with this beautiful guitar here. Thanks, y'all.